we're always chatting and things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. What in your past, in your upbringing, in your life has led you to expressing yourself in this way that so many people are relating to right now?
I think solely being a woman, like you have been through it. And I
Mm,
think I can't speak I everything I speak for in myself, I feel like a lot of women would relate to it. Um, I was, as I said earlier, I was quite shy growing up. I was quite quiet, with people who didn't know me.
yeah.
And my mum always tells this story that we would go to like a friend's house or something, and I would literally hide behind her leg and not say anything and just
Hmm.
stare at them, and they'd be like, "Hi, hello," like
Yeah.
hello, and I would look at them like this,
Right.
like no reaction. I was just like, I'm just not going to talk.
Uh-huh.
And then they'd be like, "Do you want a drink? Do you want a drink?" And I would like stare at them and then just whisper to my mum what I wanted to drink, and then they would like, I was just so shy, I think. And um yeah, I think I don't know where it comes from exactly, but I think I've always been quite a people pleaser, and I think I'm quite susceptible to being I guess being uh I don't know even the words, you know, talked down to, and just being
Okay.
like, I don't know how to. I think when something like that happens, I'm not. I struggle with how to cope with it in the moment,
Uh-huh.
and I think I find myself in a lot of situations in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people do, loads of people, where I'm walking away from a situation thinking of all the things that I should have said or wanted to say
Mm-hmm.
and didn't, because and I wouldn't, if I was given the chance again, I still would, like keep my mouth shut. Or you're in a position where you can't stand up for yourself because someone is a higher authority,
Yeah.
or or you just don't want to have a horrible hostile situation where you create an argument. And I think, like I feel that I'm really I feel that really strongly, that feeling of um not being able to, just
Yeah.
biting your tongue. And I think I yeah, a lot of my music is about
Not biting your tongue.
all the things I wish I
Right.
should have or could have said.
Yeah.
um and I think that's what people resonate with. And
Mm-hmm.
like that's why it's so special to me when people comment things like that about their own stories and things. And I'm like, I feel you, like
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's yeah, I just think it's this universal feeling of like people know that, and yeah.
Well, not only do you come across as like these are all the things that I wish I would have said, sort of thing, but you in your performances and even in the words and the stories you tell, um, it's very hyperbolic. I mean, you're dialing up. You're doing things in your songs that wouldn't just create this hot, conflict or whatever, but they would be completely, you know completely inappropriate. But you can put those in music, you can put those in the
Yeah,
song, and it does the same thing that it does for everybody, right? Like you wouldn't really go cut people's fingers off, but the just the thought of it and the way that you look, even when you go from this sort of calculated to this, as you're singing. I mean, we've all done that inside. We've all gone from this frustrated, reserved, pent up to losing it, completely insane.
yeah.
And I think that's what it's such an artistic, relatable thing, and done in such a clever way. Um,
It's funny, it's so funny listening to you like analyze it, because
yeah,
it's so interesting, but it's also stuff that I don't even half the time I don't even realize like I'm doing it, or it'll be like it's just like instinctive. I guess it's just
Uh-huh.
the way that I perform, and like it's yeah, it's weird. It's really it's just really like surreal and interesting hearing you talk about it.
What's fun with singers like you is that I know that for the most part it's instinctual.
Mm,
Um, but there are so many vocalists or so many people out there who want to be singers that have the same emotions, that have gone through similar experiences, but when they open their mouth to try to express, and they have the desire to express through their voice, doesn't come out like what you're doing. In fact, they shut down. Where you feel liberated and empowered to express with your voice, they are afraid and as a result reserved, and then they try something and it doesn't sound right or it doesn't feel like it should, and then they almost feel like their voices don't free them, their voices trap them. And I think that's what I find so interesting. There's this dichotomy of people who we all have these same emotions and these same stories and can relate to these same things, but certain people naturally stumble into being able to express like you're able to. And certain people, they just, how do I get there? And they think that, oh, how I get there is first I have to be good and then I can express.
mm,
First I have to, I gotta do these exercises. I gotta figure out how to do, I got to go through this program or take a bunch of voice lessons or whatever. And you said you did take lessons, but you also said earlier that the moment where you really found your voice, it wasn't because of what you'd studied. It was because of what you were immersing yourself in and how you had experimented with it. And then you were freed.
mm.
What advice, though, would you give to people, given what you've gone through with your own voice, in how to find that level of self-expression so that you can enter into a musical environment and just go?
Oh, that is a hard one. I think I think more is more.
More, wow.
More is more.
More is more. Yngwie Malmsteen.
But it's not always true. Um, it's definitely not always true, actually. I completely disagree with what I just said. But I do think like, especially when you're being watched, like it's a performance or it's
Mm-hmm.
being filmed is even more like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think, I've done a couple of live videos and things, and it's like I think watching them back, I think actually that's a good thing. I think watching yourself back is a
Mm-hmm.
really good tactic because you always think you're doing more than you are.
Yeah.
And um
Yep.
and actually, like half the time you're going to be standing a little bit just I think if you're nervous, you naturally are more insular, you're
Yeah.
more like and so if you watch it back, you can kind of be like, oh no, that I need to like,
Exaggerate more.
I remember one specific live video I did where I thought I was going like this with
Uh-huh.
my arms like
Yeah.
this, and actually they were like here,
Huh.
and like, and I was like, wow, really interesting that I naturally thought like my arms were really like powerful out here, and actually they were just almost beside my body, and it was like really small, the
Right.
gesture. Um, and I think there's just so much, and I think, like I always film everything because when I watch it back is the best way I can ever learn from anything.
Yeah.
Um,
You're watching and listening. So you have this,
yeah.
and what I love about that is the time to judge or learn from yourself is not while you're singing, while you're filming the video, while you're performing. The time to
Mm,
do it is when you're watching it back. And if you can separate those things, so fully abandon into the moment, give yourself to the moment of singing, performing, filming, whatever it is, without judgment. You're not judging yourself then. You're not afraid that you're going to not hit the note or that you're going to do whatever, forget the words. You're not afraid of any of that. You're just going for it and abandoning into this moment. And then, because of that, you can give yourself permission to learn from what you did and then apply that to the next time. It's that separation. And you are a living example of this. You are fully abandoned when you're doing things. We can see that. I love hearing that you watch it back then and go, oh yeah, well, I could do this differently. I could do this. You know what? I'm going to be more expressive or less do this a little bit. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, always. And I can't, it's like I'll watch a whole gig. I'll do a full gig, a half an hour set.
Uh-huh.
I'll get home and watch the entire 30-minute set, like,
Yeah.
because I'm like, and then I'll watch it again, you know? I think, what was I going to say? I do find it really interesting, this. I can't remember what I was going to say. Carry on.
Okay. How does this watching back and listening back, you're critiquing your performances, right? You were talking about your hands.
I remember.
Okay, go ahead.
It's to do with this. I was going to say, I think a big part of it, I'm super critical when I watch those, when I watch myself back, but also I think a big part of it is being like, that looks so good.
Uh-huh.
Or like, that sounded great. And then you're way more confident because, when you do that specific part in a song next time, next gig or whatever, you're like, I know this bit is good because I've literally seen it and I know it's good.
So you're calling out the victories. You're giving yourself an opportunity to pat yourself on the back and say, that was amazing, in addition to the critiques or whatever. You're not being hard on yourself only. And I would imagine that you're probably, you know, what is that? The compliment sandwich or what? Not, that's not what it is. Where you have like, you have the compliment and then you have the suggestions and all the critiques and then you follow it up with another compliment. And then you're probably doing quite a bit of that where you're rewarding yourself and critiquing yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's self-analysis really, isn't it? It's like you never meet yourself because you are yourself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to understand, I think, how other people are seeing you as well. It can get a bit obsessive, I guess, but it's I think it's interesting, and I think it's, the more you know, the more powerful you are in some ways,
Totally. Yeah, it helps you. The more you know, I like that. It creates a self-awareness that you can work with.
And especially when there's so much hate.
Uh-huh.
On every video there'll be hate.
Yeah, sure.
And I guess if you can build up your belief in yourself to the extent that you're like, but I know that bit was good.
Uh-huh.
Or oh no, all right, yeah, they're right about that bit or whatever, but I do like that other bit, and I don't think that's fair. I don't know if you can really try and like love yourself in parts, at least parts of your performances and stuff. I think that's a really I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
But it's
it's a struggle,
a good
sure.
thing to be able to do. Yeah.
How much of when you're watching and listening back is particularly focused on your vocal performance or your vocal delivery versus the rest of it, right? Or is it inseparable from that?
I think actually a lot of what I focus on is my vocals when I watch it back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm kind of like so in the moment when I'm performing it, that I'm not, how we've been talking about it already, but how I'm not too focused on getting all the notes right and whatever, and making sure it's technically like 100% there.
Yeah.
Then when I watch it back, some things will feel good in a room as well, and then like when
Yeah.
you watch it back, you're like, oh God, that note was terrible. Like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know how people even applauded that. Like,
Yeah.
and I think yeah, that those are that's where I'm super critical, I think, of myself is when is in the actual
Do
the
you
actual vocals.
do you cringe sometimes when you listen back to yourself? And
Yeah.
how do you channel that into not then being fearful the next time you go out to record? Because that's a feedback loop that a lot of vocalists get into. Is like, well, I heard myself back, I watched myself, and oh, it sounded terrible. So then when they go the next time, they are so afraid of sounding terrible, they can't abandon into the moment again. Have you ever found yourself in that loop?
I have, yeah. I have because I think um it's usually like if it's a big long if it's a really high belted long note, I'm
Yeah.
like I need to nail that and I need to hit it because if I don't, it's super embarrassing.
Right.
And it's like, like you're making a statement to do a note like that. So if you don't hit it, it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
that was very cool. And like there's been times when I've watched stuff back, especially like if you're on tour and you're doing it every night. There's
Hmm.
there's some that are just super bad, and I think, um, yeah, when I watch them back, I think it helps. It does help because I think when sometimes I'm so caught up in the performance that actually the vocals, I feel like I just go for it, and sometimes you do have to be like, okay, you have got a big note coming up. You need to sort of like make sure that you have enough breath for that moment or whatever. And I
Sure.
think sometimes it reminds me, like if I see a video where I was a bit pitchy on a note or something, I'll have that in my head for the next gig and be like, I'll remember. I'll be like, make sure you get this bit right because
Yeah.
last time you were a little bit flat on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so that's good. It helps me. But I do have it sometimes, if I've done it more than once where I haven't been able to do it very well, sometimes it gets in my head and then I overthink it and then it
Yep.
can actually that will mess up the note. Or I'll
Yep.
or I'll avoid doing it altogether and change the part or
Hmm.
something. And yeah, it's a bad loop to get into.
Well, I heard you say something about, you might change something, or if you've had a couple times where it's been bad, and uh especially when you're on tour, there's there's this aspect of like, well, I have to do this for, so many nights in a row, or whatever. How are you budgeting your voice so that you can do things consistently? It's probably a combination of changing some things, or going real hard one night and not so much the next night, or I'm sure it's also partly in the writing of how well, I've got to perform all these songs together. They can't all be I only have so many money notes in me. Talk a little bit about that. The pacing that you have to go through to get through things.
I think I'm still working that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I've been on tours, it's difficult, you know. I think it's a lot of it's in the set list. Like I'll try and make sure that I have like some down numbers, or like I'll put a long speaking section after a really, really crazy song or something, and
Yeah.
I'll just like get my breath back for a while and then do like a ballad, which is kind of still hard to sing, but a bit slower.
Right.
um, but most of my songs are kind of like it's funny when I'm working with my band in a rehearsal and we're trying to like make a set list. It's like, okay, let's put an easy song here.
Yeah.
And then we're all like, there aren't really any there aren't really any easy songs because I feel like every time I write a song, I'm like, and now for the big moment.
Yeah.
um or especially in a live arrangement, I'm like, there needs to be a big moment. But no, yeah, it's like it's difficult to pace. I think I also have it in performing. Like I wear now, if I go on tour, I wear knee pads every night on stage
Oh wow.
under my trousers because I was really, really messing up my knees for a while. I would drop onto them and I'd like walk across the stage on my
Yeah.
knee because I just get so into it. And it's
Yeah.
not like it wasn't an option to be like, I need to stop doing that because I said that. And then in the moment would come and I'd be like, I don't care about my knees.
Yeah.
I was gonna do it anyway. And then I'd be like not able to walk properly for like a week, and I couldn't do like any lunges or squats or anything at the gym because my knees were so weak from it
Yeah.
for months. And so things like that. And also like the nails I wear, like the glue that sticks them on, I have to um I got a different glue because I was like ripping off my nail beds every night, not
Oh
my
geez.
actual nail beds,
Yeah.
but I just thought that it came to a point where I was like, okay, I need to physically take a bit more, take like look after myself a bit more. I also never ever drink anything the night before a show, drink any alcohol or anything, or smoke or anything like that. I'm quite like I love vocal zones. I'm always eating vocal zones. They're like, do you know vocal zones?
No.
Oh, they're amazing. Maybe they're a UK thing. I'm not sure, but they're like these they're basically like little sweets for like they're really menthol.
Like 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 the you're probably just using a different word. Like these are lozenges, like
Yeah.
cough drops, sort of thing. Like these have lemon and
Yeah, yeah,
honey and
yeah,
stuff in
that
them.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And
Yes,
then
I do have those.
yeah,
What are you
they're
calling them?
amazing.
What are you calling them?
Vocal zones. They're
Vocal
specifically for
zones.
vocals.
Oh no, so I don't have that brand or that. I'll have to look into them. That's
I'm
cool.
actually I'm gonna send you some
Okay.
because they're amazing. They're so good. You have to know about them.
Yeah.
Um, I like live off them on tour when I'm recording.
Oh
Like
wow.
anytime I need to sing, I'm like, where are the vocal zones? Um, yeah, lemon and honey. I try not to drink like any coffee or anything before I go on because of just anything like stodgy that's too, yeah.
So you said you don't smoke before the shows. Are you a smoker? Do you smoke some?
Sometimes socially,
Yeah. And do you find
but
any interaction with your voice that is lasting, or is it no big deal?
um, I think it's more in my head.
Hmm.
But like when I'll smoke sometimes, like, but then if I have something coming up, so for example, um, I'm just very good at like being like, okay, no, I'm not going to do anything now
Yeah.
for, I can switch it off. I'm lucky that I don't get addicted to it easily, I think.
Yeah.
So for example, I have a music video that I'm shooting in a few days, and I just a few days ago was like, right, I'm not going to drink coffee anymore
Oh,
until
yeah, that's good.
I shot the music video. I'm also not going to drink or smoke or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So you
I
don't have
think
any
I'm
vices. You can enjoy things when you want to enjoy them and put your mind at ease a little bit, but you don't have to do it. That's really awesome. That's
well, yeah, sometimes. Coffee's like probably I love a coffee actually,
yeah.
but sometimes it makes me anxious.
Yeah, coffee
So
makes me really anxious. I have to do I
that's actually why I'm not drinking it at the moment because music videos are just so stressful. Like there's so much to plan, and I'm like I can't afford to be more anxious than I already am.
right? What was it like opening for Sting?
Sting, it was awesome. It was like I always call it definition deep end. Like it was severe deep end.
Yeah.
Going from have never having never done anything like that to, like big arenas, and it was very random pairing. Um, but it was amazing. It was amazing. His team were so lovely. Like they just really looked after us. They had um no egos, like they were just really welcoming and wanted to help us out as much as they could, and
Hmm.
no one was like, oh, this is our person. Like they were
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, they were just so nice, and it was such a nice experience, and it was amazing. I was lucky because I did I did the Eastern European leg of the tour.
Uh-huh.
So I did 4 shows with him. And and I think the first show I was like purely nervous. Um to the point where I didn't enjoy it really
Yeah.
because I was so nervous and I just was trying to get through it and do it right, you know. The second show I was like really nervous, but I was like, okay, I enjoyed that one a bit.
Yeah.
And then the third show I was like, oh no, I'm starting to really enjoy it. And by the fourth show it was like, okay, I purely enjoyed that. And obviously I was nervous, but it wasn't like to the point where it was like crippling.
Right.
It was like boot camp of music industry boot camp. Like it was insane and it was amazing. It
What
was
would
so amazing.
what would you say one of your main takeaways was coming off of that? Like what do you carry with you from that experience into everything you're doing now?
I think it really taught me a lot about stamina.
Ah,
hmm he I mean, Sting, he's in such good shape. Like he's vocally, he was amazing every night.
yeah.
He was doing these really long, probably hour and a half to 2 hour performances every single night.
Yeah.
And I know that it's like something that we all know happens. Like everyone, you know, these huge artists, they go on tour, they do 2 hour shows every single night for a year or whatever,
Right.
or with a few days off. Um, but actually seeing it and actually being on the tour,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like I can't. And he's I think he's in his 70s.
It's still, yeah,
And
it's just
honestly it's unbelievable. I was like, because also we did the tour on a budget and we stayed in Airbnbs. It was the cheapest way to do it. So we
okay.
were like getting like coaches at like 5 a.m. because it was the cheapest coach to get. So we'd wake up after a show like at
Yeah.
5 and then get a coach to the next city. And then we wouldn't be able to check into our next Airbnb until like 3 p.m. So then we'd be like hauling our bags around this city
Right.
and then we'd go to the Airbnb, check in, and then it would be like straight to sound check. And it was really, really tiring. That tour, like that was a big takeaway from that tour was like it was amazing but it was really tiring. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking like I don't know how to do this, like I don't know how people do this
Uh-huh.
because I was not it was physically exhausting and it was vocally exhausting, and by the last show I was almost losing my voice and I
Uh-huh.
did 4. And I was just so impressed with him, I think, and the whole band and everyone. But I think especially vocally, like, you know, if you have a cold and you can still play guitar, but
Right.
vocally it's just like, yeah, it was incredible. And I think it taught me a lot about, you know, actually being in that experience. It taught
Mm-hmm.
me a lot about stamina, basically.
Yeah. Wow. So how long were your bits every night?
Half an hour.
Yours were half an hour, and
Yeah.
and he was doing an hour and a half or so, and at seven
To be
down.
fair, because we did it on a budget, it was only me and one musician on stage.
So you had to
So I
carry a lot
really had to
more.
bring it. Like
Yeah,
I
that's
really had to like give it what's so much energy. I was like running around the stage every
yeah.
night, you know, like I was I was all the dancers and I was all the
Right.
backing singers and I was all the parts in the song, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, okay, there can't be a moment where people are bored. So I was really like it was like
Yeah.
really exhausting. And I guess if you had a bigger budget and you know a bigger, yeah, you'd be able to have moments where you are off stage or you're not
Right.
singing, not dancing, but
Let me introduce you to my drummer, and then you walk off stage, and yeah, that kind of thing.
have a little lie down. Yeah.
Right. Well, so you learned a lot about stamina, and with all of these stages of your singing career, you learn and adapt. What does practicing look like for you? I know just prior to this call you were practicing for a shoot, but when it comes to practicing your singing, do you practice? Do you have like a warm up routine or things that you do, or do you? Is it mainly just on the job training where you're writing a song and doing videos and performing and your voice gets better because of that, or both?
It's mainly, yeah, on the job training. As you said, it's kind of like living, doing music every day, naturally singing every day. Um,
You build your voice through that. You don't build your voice through some particular routine or
no, well, I have a vocal warm up that I do it every time I'm recording
mhm.
properly, like properly recording vocals, like doing a vocal session,
Yeah.
or and also every gig.
Yeah.
Um, I should also do it at like rehearsals, but I don't usually, which is bad. I should start to do that. I think I want to, we need to look after our instruments,
Absolutely.
and it's not something that can just every time I
Now, you
rehearse,
can't go
I
buy a
should
new
do it.
voice or
Yeah.
put new vocal cords on. You got one.
But yeah, but vocal zones are amazing.
Okay.
I do take a lot of them and they are really good for your voice as well.
Okay. So between
Uh,
vocal zones and a semi consistent warm up, and then other than that, you're practicing on the job while you're writing, recording, and performing, and that's that's
yeah.
cool. And it's honestly uh that's par. That's what most successful career singers do. They don't have some sort of regime. The regime is the creation and learning and growing through creation. And I think that if you look at other fields, if you even go outside of music, right? People will go to school to become a pilot or something, but you don't really learn how to be a pilot until you are a pilot. You can read
Yeah.
about it. You can do, and I think that sort of way of thinking, like you can learn about being a singer. You can do things that other singers have done, but until you are in a position where you are saying, I'm a singer, and you have things set up to where you're living the life of a vocalist, the life of an artist, you're never going to learn. There has to be that element of on the job training in order to be so to put things in your path that cause you to improve as a result rather than pursuing improvement as the end, right? Like you're
Yeah.
not necessarily sitting around, you're not sitting around at all, especially now, but you're not sitting around going, I have to get my voice to a certain level before I can go release my next single or film my next video or go on my next tour. You are planning these things, you're actively writing and performing and recording, and as a result, you are getting to that next level because you have the pursuits in the right order. Being good is the result of doing what you do. Being good is not it's not a pursuit in and of itself that enables you to do what you do. It's an interesting, different way of thinking, but you're a living example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting, it's also like there's so much long other days when a singer was just a singer. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
struggle it's kind of sad. It is sad. I love doing all the other stuff around being an artist, but like it's a shame that I don't get more time to actually just sing,
Yeah.
which is so ironic,
Yeah.
and actually practice. Like I used to do I used to have a really great vocal coach, and I did he'd give me a new song every week,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go away and learn the song, like I mean like meticulously practice it
Yeah.
every single run. I'd go over it, like that was his way of vocal training. Like
Right.
every single run you'd go over it 30 times until you got it perfectly,
Yep.
and that's not an exaggeration, like 30 times. Like, and it was like, yeah, it was like doing homework. I was a bit like, oh, I gotta go home and practice singing. It's so much effort, and like, but also like it's always nice when you're doing it, and um and you sort of forget, you can get lost in being an artist and forget about being a singer, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to pull at that
And
thread a little bit more because your your practicing back then was working on little pieces of songs and building those into your voice, building those into the muscle memory of your voice. That's exactly how I train my students. Is
Wow.
we're going to hone this one tiny section. We're not going to try to sing the song all the way through. We're going to learn, and that's why I enjoy breaking down your videos so much, because I will. You'll see me do it on the videos sometimes, but when that recorder goes off, a lot of times I'm going and and
Yeah.
working those transitions into my voice, and feeling out the differences between, oh, what does it feel like to abandon into my head voice there? What does it feel like to really belt right afterward? Or I'm going to put that in my own range because I feel like I can deal with that from a phrasing vantage point better because I'm not trying to hit those same notes or whatever. But you don't do it as much anymore, but that's really how you cut your teeth, was
Yeah.
taking these small song snippets and going, I'm going to make those mine. I'm going to figure out how I can. You're not necessarily trying to imitate the other artist, although there might be an aspect of that. But really, it's about putting it in your own voice, figuring out what your voice can really do based on that part of a song. I love that you said that. I love that you mentioned that. How
Yeah.
long were you studying that way?
I started with him when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, maybe 7 years I was doing that.
7 years of microanalysis on
Yeah.
songs. You can hear it. You can hear it in your
Thank
voice.
you. I'll tell him as well. He'll be really happy.
Yeah, that is super cool to hear that you did that. Do you remember some of the songs that had the most impact on you in that time period?
Oh, Jasmine Sullivan.
Okay.
There was a few Jasmine Sullivan ones, and I was like, Jesus Christ, they were not easy.
Yeah.
She is a beast, of a vocal beast. Like, she's amazing. Um, there was a lot of like Beyonce, which was also very difficult. They were all difficult, otherwise. He has like different folders, and one of them's like diva, one of them's super diva, one of
Yeah.
them's like super diva. I was like
Nice.
in the like I was in the like bulk of the super divas, and doing all the harder songs. Like Love on Top was one of them. um a lot of, yeah, Christina Aguilera songs, Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
It was mainly like runs and things. I think I've always been quite I've always had, well, not always, but I find it easier to sing really, to like really belt. And uh I've I found it easier to learn. I don't really know how to describe it, because it's not like I've always had a really high belt, but I naturally was a bit more like, I can sing high and
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah.
And the details of things is what I find harder. So like
Ah.
melisma, I find that more difficult. Um, and like there'll be runs that I'm still like, oh, I can't believe I got that right. I feel like it's hit and miss. Like,
Uh-huh.
um, I'll be able to do it in a studio version, and then it'll come to doing it live, and I'll be like, oh, I'm really dreading that little run, and it's like the tiniest bit that's like or something, and I'll just like dread it because I'm like, oh god, that's coming up, and then it's like a really big note right after, and I'll just be like, oh yeah, no, that's easy. That's
Oh,
where I'm comfortable. The runs is where I struggle, and the soft singing,
that's
I struggle with
that's
it more.
that's cool to hear you say that. One of the things I commented on Fingers Live was that your runs are so tastefully subtle, and and they're accurate. I mean, they're good, but they're not in your face. I mean, I love listening to Christina Aguilera, and her agility is. I mean, there's nobody like her, right? Um,
Yeah.
the way she handles runs though are often a lot more in your face. You have this, oh well, that, yeah, she's an agile vocalist. You almost have to listen to your songs several times to appreciate the agility and the the level of detail that you have in your runs. And I love that because there's somewhere to dig. There's somewhere to go. The belty notes, the dynamics, the whisper singing, those stand out immediately because of the contrasts you're drawing. And then the runs, you almost have to like, oh, what just happened? Okay, let me go back. Listen again. Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't notice that. And there's one in there how you're moving your mouth, you sneer during it, and then you very subtly change the vowel. And you don't even, I had to listen to it like 3 or 4 times to realize that the vowel modification was sort of what was helping you bounce along the run in a way. And
Interesting.
And I just thought, I love the fact that your flash is subtle. It makes it even more enjoyable because you can do it. You have the chops. But it's almost like, yeah, you know what? I don't need to flaunt that aspect of my singing because that's not really the point. The point is I'm going to get you going with the big notes and the dynamic contrasts and I'm going to whisper in your ear, and just when you've leaned in, I'm going to smack you in the face. And then in the meantime, there's going to be this run that I mutter over here that you probably are going to miss because you're still going like this because you just got hit in the face. Like that's how I would that's how I would describe your voice. And it's
I love that so much.
And
That's
it's just
so good.
It's been so fun getting to know your singing, and I can't wait for what's in store for you. I mean, you're gonna have a big year. I can tell.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It feels like that currently, but we'll have to see. It feels good right now. It feels like really, really, I'm really grateful, you know.
What would you say, looking forward now, what would you say would be an aspiration that it hasn't come to pass yet in your life and career musically, but looking forward, what is something that you would love to experience?
Every year, me and my housemates, we go and sit in a pub. We bring like paper, loads of colourful pens, and we write down everything that went well last year, things that could have gone better, New Year's resolutions, and goals for the year.
Yeah.
And resolutions is like things like, oh, maybe I'll like, you know, like do more vocal practice, try and do daily vocal practice, or, you know, go to the gym, whatever. And goals is more like, what do I want to actually achieve this year? And
Sure.
I feel like that I usually never look back at them through the year, and I have them all written in this one book. So every year I write them in the same book.
Yeah.
I usually never look back at them, but I did hear recently a like study that was done about basically the more you look at your goals that you've written down, the more likely you are to succeed at them or achieve them or whatever, and faster. So I think this year I'm going to look at my goals more. So they're all written down, but they're in here and they're on the paper.
You could turn that light on now if you want, the one that's in front of you. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great.
Is that weird?
It's a little green, but no, it's good. It's good.
It's a green light.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, really nice. Should have done that a little bit ago. No, that's good. So we've got some questions on YouTube. I put a little post up a little while ago, and so we've got some things there. You're free to pass on any of these questions, but I'd love to ask you some of those now.
Yeah, hit me.
Okay. Do you write all your music and lyrics to your songs?
Hell yeah. I love, yeah, definitely. I mean, I work with other people as well. So some of them are co-writes, some of them are co-productions, some of them are produced by other people, but I also produce. So a lot of my songs are like literally start to finish me.
Yeah.
In my shed, little shed studio set up, all written, produced, and everything by me. And I do love working like that as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, I don't think I can't imagine singing something else, something that someone else has written for me.
Yeah.
Entirely, because I think I'd need to feel really I'd find it hard to feel emotionally really attached to it.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Maybe.
awesome. Let's see here. Ask about her little habit of pop locking poses.
Of what?
Ask her about her little habit of pop locking poses. In Fingers, it feels like a mockery of what the industry wants from female singers, like a pose for the male gaze that should be their malleable puppet. And is there any connection to the way she felt as an artist before on your label? I think what the question is getting at, and I think this sort of speaks into your, being a woman and wanting to empower women. And I mean, we all know the objectification, Britney Spears era sort of thing. Like, are you doing things that mock that?
Terms and
Oh yeah, terms and
conditions.
conditions. Yeah,
So that specific video, I feel like I just wanted to create this world of kind of people that I would hang out with, and it's
yeah,
I feel like terms and conditions is like I feel like it's like a wonderland of like just like everyone in it has their own, like I feel like everyone in it is giving main character energy, like everyone in it has um their own vibe, their own, like everyone in it was super talented. And
yeah,
I think, yeah, I just wanted to get across this like this arty like celebration of different, like different sexes, different just all sorts of different people and how talented they are. And
oh okay, yeah,
um yeah, but I think with Fingers, all those characters that I was playing, I actually just love like caricatures and acting, I
yeah.
think. And I
Music. You are definitely a
uh,
musical actor. That definitely.
yeah, I
Yeah,
love it. And I think I don't know. I think sometimes like what I was saying earlier about how it's interesting to hear you like analyzing what I'm doing vocally sometimes or whatever, because it's like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
yeah,
That is
right.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Or like I think that's sometimes how I feel about, like um the characters
yeah.
in Fingers.
Sure.
I just wanted to make all these like caricatures. I wrote backstories for them all. I
Oh
had
yeah,
like a proper like paragraph for each of them that had all these backstories. I really just wanted to get into the like um the like cinema of it, I guess.
yeah.
Like I
That's so
wanted to
cool.
properly make um well, I just feel like as the budget gets bigger, I want to proper, like I want to start creating like movie-esque kind of
Yeah.
things. And I think I love I love that. In terms of where the caricatures come from, like what makes me think of certain things. I don't know. Maybe it's subconscious, maybe it's um yeah, I don't exactly know. I don't know.
That's even better than having
And
like a
maybe that's
really
the
good.
good thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say it leaves it up to for other people to relate to it in the way that speaks to them most. I think that's just fantastic. Do you feel like there have been times when you've been overproduced? And the follow up question or the explanation for this is I ask this because there seems to me to be much more overall richness and quality in your voice in the live pieces. I find, for example, the live version of Fingers, with just the piano, has so much more emotional content over the official video version. I mentioned that earlier as well. So the question: do you feel like you've been overproduced in the past?
No. No, I can see where that comes from. But I love the live element of stuff. I also love I do love pop music. I
Yeah,
think, like it's an acquired taste, um but I do love it. And like I'm the producer of a lot of
that's
his
right.
songs.
Right.
So it's funny, I do keep seeing a lot of comments like, oh, this is over, the producer really overdid this, and I'm
It's
like,
like, oh, thanks. Well,
no, I like both. I think, like, yeah, I'm a big fan of pop music, and I like that. I love when stuff has like a big beat to it.
yeah,
That's what I love listening to. That's what makes me feel empowered. Also, live stuff makes me feel empowered, and it's kind of two different
totally.
worlds, and I guess that's why I do both of them. I love both of
Hmm.
them, and I think that's why I really enjoy making live arrangements of a really poppy song
Yeah,
and making it super, like vocally challenging and
yeah,
um yeah, I guess more, um impressive in a live way,
yeah, yeah. Well,
if that
it's
makes
two
sense.
different artists, artistic expressions, right? I love layered vocals and runs going in and out of vocal stacks and an amazing production, but I love hearing the live version that is intentionally not like the studio version, right? It's its own
Yeah.
art form. That's one thing that I've appreciated about listening to some of the stuff that you've done is you treat them. You're not trying to crutch the studio performance. You're making them their own thing. That's brilliant and necessary. A lot of fans sense this intense chemistry between you and Ren, and just it's part of what's made those songs so incredible. Do you sense that? Is there something unique in doing a collaboration with Ren versus doing other collaborations versus doing something by yourself?
I think in the way we perform, like for some reason we have this same like genetic thing that we just do.
Yeah,
And that is like, it's like it's like finding someone at a party who has the exact same sense of humor as you.
yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like, great, I'm gonna have a great night,
yeah. Right.
That's kind of how I feel when I perform with Ren, because we have the exact same way of, I just think we have the same, like, I don't exactly know what it is, but I think like you sort of know what I mean. It's like this I guess this intensity, this specific like, and I guess it's quite theatrical. Yeah, theatrical. I kind of hate that word
Yeah,
because I think it I don't want it to come across like it's like it's not, it's not theatrical
right.
necessarily, but do you know what I mean?
I
It's
do know what
quite
you mean. Yeah.
and I think that is like, it's just so easy to work with someone like that and to make a, to perform with someone like that, because we just both are like this energy working off each other. And
Yeah.
no, yeah, it's definitely not the same with with everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's quite rare to find a really similar energy to you like that.
Well, I think we've covered quite a lot of ground. Thank you again for taking the time. We've gone from like mid-afternoon sun to completely dark in your
I
room.
know.
It's awesome.
I know. Sorry about
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. I'll be looking forward to following this next year with great attention to detail, and I look forward to hearing what you have coming next.
Thank you so much. I've had the best time, and it's honestly been like so interesting analyzing vocals and things with you. So
Oh,
thank you.
good. Hey, Chris Liepe here with why your voice dries out and what you can do to make sure it doesn't dry out and what you can do to get your voice hydrated again if it does dry out. Please like and subscribe to the channel and turn those notifications on. And if you'd like to go deeper with me as your vocal coach, the best place to start is by clicking the link below and joining my free voice course. sure to check out the full cover I did of Zombie by the Cranberries. I left that link in the description also. So, why does our voice dry out? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is really obvious. You need to make sure you're staying hydrated when you're singing. This is not drinking things with a lot of sugar. This is not drinking coffee while you're trying to sing. It's not even drinking tea while you're trying to sing. It is water, room temperature water. If you stick to room temperature water, you're going to have an easier time keeping your voice consistently hydrated. But that's not the technique reason for why our voice dries out. A lot of singers get caught in this in-between area with their vocal cords, and it causes them to sing or phonate incorrectly and creates opportunities for poor closure. Let me demonstrate. If I say the word hey, 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 I can say that a lot of different ways. The way I just sang it, you hear an airiness that actually sounds kind of cool. But if I stay there, hey, hey, not only do I run out of breath really quickly, like I've talked about in other videos, but I am blowing a lot more air through my chords, and it's almost like I'm creating a pressure, an air pressure chamber for my vocal cords. If I blow on my hand with tight lips, I create this intense amount of air coming out of my hand. That's what you're doing when you partially close your chords, and sing like this with rasp. Rasp is good. Constant rasp or unconscious rasp due to poor closure is not good. We don't want to live there all the time. That's really going to dry out your vocal cords. How can you make sure that you're getting good intentional closure? Well, we're going to look to Cranberries' song, Zombie, because there's a couple things that happen in this vocal line that can help us make sure we're getting good closure. We're going to approach the word head. Head, head. That word starts with an H. And what we're doing is we're practicing bringing our chords together. They're starting with partial engagement. Ha, ha. This is what's known as a soft onset. Head. And then we're bringing them together and we're measuring, using introspection, measuring our closure. We want to go from pure H to pure closure. Head, head, not this. Head, head, head. Feel this out. Do the difference, right? Try it both ways so that you know which is the right way and you can feel that difference. You'd be surprised how many vocalists have never done something like this and really thought through what their notes are like, what their closure's like. Head, 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 head. Bring that note forward, head, head, but start with the H so you can practice bringing those chords together from open with the air going through. The second way we're going to look at this is that famous chorus line. Here we're going the other direction. We start with good closure. You can do this in any part of your range. And then we're going to let our voice break into our head voice, but we're also going to let it be a breathy head voice. Zombie. So we're going the other direction. We have this hard onset. We're testing our closure there as well. And then we're letting it break apart into our breathy head voice. We want to start by not going necessarily for that note that she goes for. We're not trying to do that. I mean, it's cool. We're not trying to do that initially. We're just doing this. breaking into our head voice and then deflating. So head. Practice going from complete breathiness and catch it with good closure with your vocal cords and measure that as you're doing it. These exercises don't work if you're not really measuring it in your head. And then go the other direction. Zombie, eh, 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 eh. And if you really want to take it to the next level, go for that pitch. Eh, eh, eh. The key is that we're going in breathy and then creating a hard onset, testing that closure, and then going out breathy. I guarantee you that if you can start to have an extra level of consciousness about your chord closure, in addition to keeping hydrated, your voice is not going to dry out like it has. And this goes for really any style of music. Lots of people complain about their voice drying out when they go to scream or when they're really aggressive. Well, it's all about how you blow your air. And as you work on the muscle memory associated with the techniques that I've talked about in this lesson, then start applying them to your more aggressive techniques, your voice is not going to dry out, and you're going to have more longevity and better tone in the long run. Let's mess around with this over the track in kind of a loose way and see what happens. So what I'm doing there is intentionally not closing after that H on that note. And in that range, that's really, you can really hear a problem there. If I did that a lot, in fact, I felt it, my voice would dry out a lot. There'd be all sorts of ticklies going on. Placing it forward, feeling the resonance in my face. Head, head, head. More track. Releasing hard on, chord closure. Learn that coordination. Not only is it cool sounding and gives you some new dynamic things you can do, but it's a closure test to make sure you're being the most efficient with your airflow when you mean to be. The next time you catch your voice randomly drying out, make sure you've grabbed that room temperature water and run yourself through these awareness drills to recenter your voice. Make sure your closure is intentional and good, and your voice will regain its moist, malleable way of working. I will say this, if you've blown too much air for too long of a time in a vocal session, sometimes you just got to take a break and make sure that you're not doing damage by going too hard too long. That said, if you do these awareness exercises and you come back the next session, you're going to have a better mind for closure and overall vocal health because of these exercises and this approach. Again, if you'd like more help and you'd like more exercises like this that are kind of unconventional in developing your own voice, click the link below and join my free voice course. We'll see you for more.
I love you, oh loves. Do you have those? Do you wanna share them with me? I love you, oh loves. Oh, do you have those? I'd like to share mine with you. Can we share? I'm gonna spread love or hate. I'm gonna spread love or hate. I'm gonna spread love or hate.